Okay, and we are live. Welcome to another episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again with me, I have Logan. Logan, how you doing?
Doing great, Jamie. How are you on this fine Tuesday?
I'd be good if people would let me be myself on Twitter and just act like a normal person. But we'll get into that later. So yeah,
How
there's a
dare
lot.
you like old games, Jamie?
Yeah,
How dare you?
yeah. How dare I? I mean, but yeah, we'll get into that in a bit. But it's been a few weeks since we had a show, and I wasn't able to post a video last week because let's just say certain companies don't like it when you use certain parts of the footage, and well, last week's video didn't come out, although it'll be up this week. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Now, I kind of want to start off with GTA Plus because that was announced just after the last podcast we did. And, for people that don't know, it's a subscription service for GTA Online. And the thing is, people that aren't players of that game might look at that service and think, wow, that's I think it's like $6 a month or something. You get a lot for your money. And just wondering, Logan, do you play GTA Online or have you played it?
I've never touched it, honestly. I've only played single player on the GTA games or local co-op on, the old ones with the cheats and everything. I've never played GTA Online.
Okay, well you're lucky because if you're like me, that thing was addictive, and I stopped playing. I've gone over the whole addiction thing for GTA in the past, but it's like people that have never played the game before and like just getting into the series, and there's people still buying the game, to this day because they haven't experienced the campaign, and it's a great campaign. But this subscription service to these people that have never played it before might think, $500,000 per month, you get some t-shirts, some hats. There's a very special car you get when you first start like being subscribed, and it looks like a good deal from the onset. But as someone that played that game, I know for a fact that you can earn $500,000 in that game in a few hours. Do some parachuting missions, maybe do a race or two. Like, you can earn money really fast in GTA Online. It's just where people get really angry about GTA Online is that people are pretty much forced to spend millions upon millions of dollars to get the best gear, and it's basically pay to win. So, normally I wouldn't go for this type of game during the podcast, but like, I'm just saying, people out there that are just getting into GTA Online or GTA whatever, don't subscribe to the service. Like, you can make that money in a few hours. And the thing is, I earned over $370 million in GTA Online, and I didn't even do the heists where you get the most money. I did that by doing bounties and missions and stuff, and it's like you can earn money fast. And I think a lot of people in the GTA community, but and I could see people on all sides, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, like they have every right to be angry at this. We get a remaster that doesn't look any different. It's a higher resolution with a higher frame rate. It's nothing really, and they called it expanded and enhanced. And she's in Elite and chat, GTA Online is addictive. And like, I was addicted to that thing for 2 years. And I put it like this, we'll talk about backwards compatibility later in the show, but when the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out, like, those consoles weren't backwards compatible. So I had my 360 hooked up, basically just for GTA for a long time, even though I would play other games. And it's like, I was addicted to that game. I'd think about it all the time. And it just clicked one day. I was like, it's a problem. I have to stop playing. I uninstalled it. And then when it came out for the Xbox One, I did the same thing. And, I got to a point where I was like, no, I'm not playing anymore. Because there's other games, And yeah, I'm just saying GTA Online Plus, do not subscribe. You can earn that much money. And the thing is, it's pay to win. That's all I'm saying. Just don't subscribe. It's what you get for your. And here's the thing: this is what I don't like about some subscription services. When it's a low price, like $6 a month, these companies rely on you to forget about it because it's such a small amount of money that you don't really notice it going out of your bank balance every month. So you forget about it, and over years you end up paying that every single month, and you just forget about it. And there's all these people that have kids and other family members that may play the game and may be subscribed, and it's like that's just more millions that they're making when really they shouldn't be. So it's just a warning out there to people: do not subscribe to GTA Plus. It's not worth it. Anyway, we'll move on. So, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. They just announced today that it's getting end of life treatment. There's no more content coming to the game. And Logan, have you ever played Ghost Recon Breakpoint?
I have not played Breakpoint. I've played some of the older Ghost Recon games, like the old single player and local co-op ones, like Future Soldier and stuff like that. But I haven't played Breakpoint, no.
Yeah, well, Breakpoint, I put it like this: Wildlands was hugely popular. It sold over like 25 million copies. It was co-op, it was single player. You could do the whole thing single player with an AI squad, and the squad was super easy to control. And it was so popular that they had to make a sequel to it, and that's basically what Breakpoint was. But it came out and it was missing features. It was broken in some parts. They kind of made the game this looter shooter, much like a Destiny type game or a Division, which people weren't really asking for. When you hear Ghost Recon, you want stealth, you want tactical, combat, and they just put in all this different loot based stuff. And Shizno and chat's talking about the Lego game. We will be talking about the Lego game later in the show. I actually have gameplay during the show as well. But yeah, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, no more content. And for a while that game was broken. It took 6 months to a year to get standard features that were in Wildlands. It took them a long time to fix it, and that's been the case for a lot of games this generation. A game comes out and they're fixing it for months and months and months. Like, there was a feature that people wanted in Wildlands where you could like throw a rock and distract a guard. We had to wait 6 months for that in Breakpoint. Like, it was ridiculous. But, over time it changed, and now it's actually a good game. And now you can play it in solo. You can be tactical. You can be, action focused. You can play it like a looter shooter if you want. Like, it has a huge variety of options, so you can make the game as stealthy as single player or as looter shooter as you want, which is really cool. And honestly, I think it's worth the price tag right now. Although Ubisoft Connect or whatever their service is. By the way, Ubisoft, stop changing the name of your service every 6 months. It's confusing, but that service has come to game. I should say Xbox in the future, and I'd recommend playing Ghost Recon now. And it's been a few years. They said they're moving on to new things. But the cool thing is that Tom Henderson recently said, and he's broke a lot of news stories, that Ubisoft's working on like 20 plus games right now. Obviously, one of them being a new Ghost Recon game. But apparently they're working on a new third-person shooter, which is really cool. And the thing is, people will call Ubisoft out thinking, all their games are the same. But if I look at my shelf right now, I have a lot of Ubisoft games. Like, it just is what it is. But like, Logan, you're a fan of Ubisoft games, right? What's your thoughts on like them making another third-person shooter?
I'm cool with it. I like Ubisoft. I'll be honest, I haven't played much of their stuff lately, but I enjoy the older Assassin's Creed titles, and Black Flag is one of my favorite games ever. Just the whole naval combat and being able to fully explore and just be both a pirate and an assassin. It was such an awesome story. And then the old Splinter Cells, obviously. I know you're a huge Splinter Cell guy as well. And then the older Ghost Recon games. I have a special place in my heart for Ubisoft and Prince of Persia as well. So I really hope and have high expectations for their new stuff going forward. I hope they can kind of sidestep some of the nonsense they've been peddling lately. But fingers crossed for good things for this.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby the reason chat just said, is anyone surprised that they released an unfinished game? And he's right. He's the problem with Ubisoft, right? Is that I like a lot of their games. A lot of people like their games. They sell millions upon millions, and over time you do see a lot of similarities in those games. But they're fun. You pick up, you play them, and they're just good. But over time, a lot of their games felt similar. But I have this feeling that they're going to try and get back to how they used to be during the, I'd say, end of 360 generation, where they're releasing different types of games, because they have to. They can't just keep releasing similar games for eternity that I'll end up buying anyway. But, they're coming out with a Star Wars game. Avatar is meant to be completely different, and there's a lot of potential there, It's an exciting time, and, I think, it's going to be, when it comes to all these publishers this year, I think that Ubisoft's probably going to come out with the most games that people should pay attention to on the third party side. I think they're really going to surprise people. Speaking of Ubisoft, this wasn't really a topic for the show, but it might as well be a topic. So E3 is cancelled. E3 is done and dusted for this year. It makes sense. A lot of these companies want to stay away from these, huge centers where there's lots of people walking around, where they can maybe spread something. Hell, even London right now, there's like reports of massive surges, and it's a shame. E3's always been this special place for gaming, where gaming took the center stage. It was the major news, thing of that week, and it was always cool to see these new games revealed on stage, and even some smaller developers had some of their games shown, with the whole world watching, and everyone was in it together. We all watched live, people would be talking about it on Twitter or whatever, and it was a fun event for the whole week. Ever since the pandemic started, it's safer to do that stuff digitally, and it makes sense. And E3 going digital this year isn't even happening, which I'm surprised. I know that the ESA charges a lot of money to these companies to actually, put on the show even digitally. It's ridiculous, really. But it's a shame. It's a shame because E3 is special. Although I do think E3 will return in the future. Anyway, with that said, Jeff Keighley literally spent no time wasted and basically put out a smiley face, emoji on Twitter, and came out with a link almost instantly talking about Summer Games Fest 2022. It's like the body wasn't even cold yet. But yeah, what's your thought on the whole E3 going away this year, and Jeff Keighley trying to pick up the torch of the gaming industry, so to speak?
Yeah, I saw a lot of interesting takes about the E3 thing going away. Like, some are like, well, it was just a glorified infomercial, or like, oh, it's just consumer this or whatever. It's like, well, I mean, in some aspects, yes, we are watching trailers and advertisements for things that companies hope we buy. Yes, that is true. I know, it's shocking, gaming is a business, but the end of the day, it's like going to a Comic Con or a Star Wars celebration or, DC Fan Fest or whatever. It's like you're there with all your fellow fans and friends, and you make connections, and you celebrate something you're passionate about. Devs can network and get new jobs or brainstorm ideas that could lead to further collaborations down the line. There's merchandise, there's all kinds of things that go into this. It's not just simply, hey, please buy our stuff that we're showing you. It's like gamer Christmas, and so it really is sad that it's on ice again. And I don't know, I thought that was, I get why he did that. Jeff tweeted that immediately because, E3 and him kind of bumped heads a little bit on the way out when he started making his own show, but that felt a little unnecessarily petty. I mean, it was clever, but it wasn't necessary. But I hope his show does well. To be honest, sometimes it's been hit or miss. Hopefully, this year is more streamlined and everybody's in around the same. Okay, we're gonna go in June, and then we're gonna, sit on our butt till July, and then we'll have a few minutes, and then just that's another reason is because everything was in a weekend or 4 days, and you're all there. You get it out of your system. It's like, okay, here we go. This is all I need to know for this summer heading into the fall and holiday. Now it's like everything is so dragged out. It's like, oh my word, come on now. So yeah, I miss E3, and I'm excited for Xbox.
Logan, you keep botting in and out. I think there's something wrong with your connection.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Did you catch anything I said?
Yeah. It was just the last 10 seconds.
Okay. Basically, I'm excited for Xbox 3 probably in June, and just Jeff didn't need to go there. I get why he did. It was funny, but it was also kind of like you don't really need to do that. Um, hope I missed D3 because everything was together in one place over 4 days instead of spread out from June to September. And hopefully we can get back to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but it kind of makes sense with the current situation. But the thing is, Jeff Keighley, he wasted no time, and it makes sense. It caught everyone's attention. Everyone's talking about it. We're talking about it right now. And I've always wondered, like, why does it have to? And I have no problem with Jeff Keighley. I think the Game Awards that he puts on every year, I think that's came a long way, and it's a hell of a show now. And he puts on a hell of a show, and you can tell he's dedicated to gaming. But it's like I've always wondered, like, why does A3 have to be about him, like presenting gaming? Like, can't A3 just be about all the developers and all the publishers? I don't know, like, or like get a host that's like different. I just don't understand why we have to have this, one face of gaming type of thing. It always puts me off a bit. It seems like a nice guy, but like I don't like the idea of that one person needs to be the face of gaming when we're meant to be a community. Like, it's strange. It's strange. I wasn't actually going to put this in the topics as well. So Elgato, they make capture card equipment. They put out a brand new capture card today called the HD60X. It does 4K 60 HDR pass through. It can record 120 frames per second. With the Xbox One X, S, and PlayStation 5. The reason I'm talking about this is because last week I was thinking, I think it's time to bite the bullet and, get a capture card for the channel. Because Xbox DVR isn't exactly the best functionality these days. And I almost bought it, which was about £200, and I was like, you know what, maybe not. So it turns out they discontinued the card I was going to get, and they replaced it with a better card for the same price that does more. So if anyone's out on the market for a capture card, now's probably the time. And one of the other reasons I mentioned this is that this is the first capture card to use variable refresh rate with your consoles. So if you've bought a new shiny next-gen console and you want to capture next-gen gameplay, yeah, HDMI 2.1, and yeah, it does variable refresh rate pass-through, which is really cool. And I think it's about time, a lot of these like streamers, or should I say streaming equipment companies, they really need to, level up their equipment. It's about time, but it's good that's happening. And yeah, before we continue, if everyone watching right now, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm and all that stuff. Right, so we talked about Ghost Recon. Game Pass. Game Pass is getting the whole, new games this week announcement. And, the reason I wasn't really going to talk about Game Pass because, we will be talking about that later versus the whole, PlayStation Plus thing. But the new lineup came out today, and basically it includes, well, today MLB The Show came out, which is cool. Life is Strange True Colors is coming to Xbox Game Pass, which it looks really good. I've heard it's really good. Something called Panzer Corps 2, The Dungeon of Nehobula. I can't even say that. Lost and Random also coming to Game Pass. But one of the reasons I'm mentioning this, I know I normally don't go over the list of games coming to Game Pass, but I've noticed Microsoft and Game Pass and whoever's making their social, stuff, they feel the need to list cloud games in with the whole Game Pass announcements. Because, look, let's face it, every time there's a Game Pass to drop, people get hyped. But when 3 of those games out of the 8 they post, just, cloud editions, it seems like a bit of a waste. And, I think it's not the right way to go about it. They have like these huge followings. They should show just the new games that's coming to the the service, and then put out a different post saying, okay, these are the latest additions to the whole cloud service. Have you noticed this at all, Logan?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it, but now that you mention it, going back looking at several of the last few Game Pass posts that they've done, several of the titles have been cloud that were already in Game Pass, and it's like, wait, this is already in Game Pass. Oh, it's got a little cloud logo, so meaning now I can stream it via xCloud. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, to me that feels almost like a little like um like when you buy a bag of chips and it's like most mainly filled with air.
Yeah.
It feels like almost like they're just poofing it up a little bit. like in trying to inflate their little lineup to where it's like, oh, I see 8 pictures there, 8 new games, awesome. It's like, well, if you want to be technical, 3 of these are games that are already in it. You can just experience it in a new way now. So yeah, I feel where you're coming from, and I think different posts for, hey, these are our new games that have been added to the cloud section or have been upgraded to have cloud capabilities. To me, that does seem like a better method. It feels less like we're just trying to prop something up.
Yeah, also Kirby the Reason chat just said, Game Pass apparently has a waiting list, so there's no excuse for drops to be subpar. That makes sense. That's spot on because like I've seen in the past week, a few developers have mentioned like they are waiting to be on Game Pass. So like there are plenty of games coming, and they could announce stuff like oh, this game's coming to Game Pass in 3 weeks' time. People don't care; they just want the announcement. But filling it out with cloud announcements is it's filler. And like you're right, it's like we call them crisps, but it's like it is disappointing when you open a bag of crisps and it's all there. It happens all the time, and it's the same thing. And I think Microsoft, just put out a separate post, saying, hey, these games are coming to Game Pass in this X and X time, and then an hour later put out a post saying, okay, these games are now available in the cloud. And there are a lot of people that still just play games in the cloud, and that post will get their attention. But having it all lumped together, it's just weird. Why would you clump all those, impressions by people together? Like the people that only pay attention to cloud stuff are going to pay attention to the cloud tweets. They won't have to search for like what's going to be on Game Pass on PC and what's going to be on Game Pass on console and cloud. They can sort it out, and it's something they can easily correct. But again, it's still early. Xbox Game Pass, X Cloud. They're only a few years old. They are still in a learning process. A lot of these services in a learning process, but yeah, it's stuff they can handle. And another thing that you mentioned before we actually started the show is that a few weeks ago, Microsoft started testing the removal of the Twitter upload feature from consoles, because for years now you've been able to directly upload from Xbox One and Series consoles directly to Twitter, and the video appears in your feed on Twitter as a video, not as a link. And people enjoy that service, and people use it every day. Like every day on Twitter, people post Xbox share things, and my way of posting videos is more in depth because I have to overly complicate things for myself apparently. But anyway, enough people were vocal enough, and you can be polite and vocal, that they aren't removing the feature. It's going to be coming back to everyone. So if it's missing for now, it's coming back, and that's cool. I think it's important for people to be vocal about things they don't like. And look at this. The past week we found out that the edit button is coming to Twitter, and the Twitter, upload functionality is staying. So just be vocal. You can be vocal without being, yelling at someone and being rude. Like, whenever I saw people talk about the Twitter thing and the Xbox upload thing, people were really polite. Maybe I was looking in all the right places, but people seem to be really polite about the situation. And just be respectful. If you want a feature to come to Xbox, be respectful. Don't be in someone's, DMs or replies just being rude. Because here's the thing: if someone's rude to me, I mute them, and I don't see what they say. That's literally it. And if you want to be seen and heard, be polite. Like you mentioned this, Logan. What's your thoughts on the whole Twitter upload thing?
Staying, because that was the primary method of me sharing photos and stuff like that. Like I had a whole bunch in stockpile from Elden Ring, just all these beautiful scenes I've been seeing, or cool armor and this and that, and just it was so much easier to be able to just upload it directly to Twitter from, I hit the share button on my new Series X controller and poof, it's on Twitter. And so it didn't make sense to me that they were taking it away. Who felt that way. A lot of people spoke up and were nice and polite and were just like, hey, this is important to us. Please don't take it away. Or if you're going to do this, can you at least explain and maybe give us a different solution? And, it, like when they doubled the price of gold briefly, and then people were like, that's not cool. In less than 24 hours, they killed that decision, said, you know what? We screwed up. Our bad. We're not doing that. It's just, it's good to see that in the Xbox camp at least, people aren't afraid to speak up and give their minds on things. That that's not shots fired at any other fan bases. It's just I've noticed that in particular that Xbox community seems to be more vocal in general and so, about things they like and things they don't like. But as long as you're respectful and go, you at these people who are in charge of these programs or message them or go through the proper channels and go, hey, I appreciate what you do. There's this thing that's going on. Is there any way you could take a look at it and fix it? That you catch more flies with honey. You don't, ranting and raving and cursing out folks and sending them nasty messages is not going to help at all. So it's good to see that positivity wins at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good sign, them listening. And plus, if people want more features to come to Xbox, just be vocal and polite. Kirby once again in chat, mentioned like the Xbox Series consoles, they're powerful. They should be able to render video and edit. Like we don't have like basic edit functionality on Xbox. And here's the thing, they have a suite of features on PC that they could maybe just bring to console. Hell, I'd even take a copy of Windows Movie Maker on console. Like that would allow people to do more stuff. And if people, there are a lot of people that started their YouTube careers by simply using, Upload Studio, and it's a shame that like simple functionality like that isn't a thing anymore. And even when it comes to like the whole like DVR functionality in general, like the fact that you can only record one clip at 1080p on the internal drive, that's a bit weird. It used to be 2 minutes, and then we got a random update that made it, one. It's strange. It's very strange. But yeah, if people want more stuff, just be polite. Voice it to the right people. Don't do it in DMs. I've seen people do that. People will not listen if you do that. But yeah. Now, I just want to talk about Lego Star Wars, because that just came out today. And, this has been highly anticipated by people, because, it's a big shift for Lego. And Lego games have always been seen as these like children games, right? I play them because they're pretty relaxing. I've been playing what should I say, Elden Ring for like the past few weeks, and I'm getting my teeth kicked in. I can't walk 2 feet without dying in that game, and I love the game, but I'm terrible at it. And I'm gonna post some footage on Twitter later, which will prove that I'm terrible at that game, but I love it. But this Lego game, it's been, I think it was announced in like 2019 or something. It's been in development for a long time, and it's the biggest shift for a Lego game, because it's actually third person over the shoulder now. It's not top down. The camera's not zoomed out far, and it's literally got over the shoulder combat when you're firing, a plasma bolt, and it's actually kind of cool. Anyway, I've finally been playing a bit of it. I played about an hour and a half. And wow, like, I know it's Lego, but the visuals, I'm not even kidding, are almost up there with the Lego movie. Like, we almost at that point now, I take it you haven't played the Lego game out. Yeah, have you, Logan? Because it literally just came out.
No, I haven't gotten my copy yet, but it's definitely one I'm picking up.
Right, it's good, man. The shift to over the shoulder actually works, and it's still a Lego game at heart. You're still going around collecting studs, destroying stuff, but like the cutscenes are spot on. Like with the films, it's all 9 films. There's a lot of content there, and there's these open world segments. So like, even though you can play through the entire game without doing the open world segments, like just do the movie based levels. After that, you've got side missions and all this side stuff. So it's literally the biggest Lego game to date. And I have to say, after putting like 90 minutes in, 2 hours or whatever, it is fun. Like, Lego Star Wars back in the day was good. It was a really good game, and that was before the add voices. But over time, the added voices, the Lego games got better, the gameplay got better, the visuals got better, every aspect about Lego games got better. And then they take, a few years off from putting out like a big one. And then we get this, and it's fantastic, And Star Wars fans are going to love this, It's literally like the films, they got the humor right down. They got a lot of the actors that do the voices from like the animated shows. So you have, I think his name's Sam Witwer. He does the voice of Darth Maul in, the Clone Wars. he does the Emperor's voice in this. So, a lot of the voices you're going to hear, if you've watched the Clone Wars, are going to sound familiar. But what a game. Like, they've done a hell of a job with this. And, even if you're not a fan of Lego games and you like Star Wars, I'd recommend this. And I've only played it for about 90 minutes. Like, it's good. And if you've been playing Elden Ring like me, what shall I say? It presents a nice change of pace, because in Elden Ring I'm dying every 5 minutes. I don't know what to do. The game is leading me to places where I don't want to go. I tried to fight a giant scorpion thing made out of rocks on the top of a volcano. That didn't go well. But this game, you're just running around killing stormtroopers with a blaster. It's fun. I've got footage on screen right now, and it's just good. Like, what can I say? It's like, I'm trying to think how to put it, because I had to lower the resolution for like the upload, but like the visuals are just stunning. Like, you've got, I think, screen space reflections in this game, because like all the reflective tiles like look pretty realistic for Lego. But yeah, the team's done a fantastic job. They finished the game. It's not going to get like any expansions or anything. Like, the team's moved on to like the next big game, but this game in itself, there's tons of content there. I played for 90 minutes and I got to the part where Luke gets the message out of R2D2. Like, so there's a lot of gameplay there, and this is going to be keeping people busy for a pretty long time. And yeah, I have to recommend it. Like, it's fun. What can I say? Anyway, we'll move on. So, I want to talk about the Square Enix thing now, because I kind of want to rant about it. So, now, if anyone's been following gaming in the community for a while, you'll have noticed that for maybe the past year, ever since Microsoft, bought, Bethesda, all these acquisition rumors are coming up all the time. People wondering, who's Microsoft going to buy next? Who's Sony going to buy? People had a problem with Microsoft buying Bethesda and other studios, but yet Sony was allowed to buy, 7 studios in the past year? They were allowed. It wasn't a monopoly then. And, all the time I'm seeing these tweets on, obviously, Twitter. People saying, which publisher should Sony pick up? And that's a good question. Should they pick up a publisher? Will they? Can they? And people are always suggesting Square Enix. And this is my problem. If people have been following me for a while, I don't post about these rumors. And I'm doing air quotes, because these aren't rumors, right? Someone says something on Twitter like, wouldn't it be cool, or what if? And then someone else reads that and say, oh, that's a rumor. What if that's going to be a thing, And it just became a thing the past week and a half or so, where people were almost convinced that Sony were going to announce that they purchased Square Enix. Out of nowhere. Like, there's no proof. There was meant to be certain PlayStation, and this is an Xbox podcast, but if Square Enix got bought by PlayStation, that would obviously affect the situation. And it's like, what's your take on this whole thing, man?
Well, first off, I think it goes to show that folks like yourself, and others who have large followings, we have to be more responsible with what we put out there. Like, if we it wasn't you or me or anybody else, but there are some folks who get large followings who, you know, throw out something randomly and then folks run with it and it blows up happening or this or this or this, and like, it's like, well, how concrete of information do you have, or this or that? And you throw people into a frenzy, and then it blows up, and then it's like a whole week of everybody on pins and needles, like, oh, this is gonna happen, or this is gonna happen, or and then double standards, like, oh, it's not okay if Xbox does it, but if PlayStation does it, it's great, or oh, I'm gonna jump in some politicians' comments because of this, because my brand isn't doing as well, and I want them to take care of this thing so it's not an issue. I mean, it gets all nuts at the end of the day. And if they were to buy a publisher, Square makes total sense to me. I don't know if it'll happen. I won't pretend to know if it's going to happen. But if it did, hypothetically, it does make sense for them. And it would obviously affect Xbox. So at the end of the day, though, I think generally speaking, when it comes to purchases and buys and stuff like that, trust the folks who have to put their money where their mouth is and their name on it and have to print and put it in article and writing and stuff when they post it. Or in general, people aren't going to leak a multi-billion-dollar transaction to some rando on Twitter for clout. At least a sane person wouldn't do that. Because you'd be violating all kinds of NDAs, legal things, possibly trading stuff. There would be so many issues. So, all this stuff coming out of nowhere and just building to a fever pitch just because somebody says, oh, rumor has it, it's kind of just, it's wild, honestly.
You got a good point with that. Whenever there's like a game coming up, or like even hardware, like every single piece of Xbox hardware other than the Series X and S, well, no, the S leaked, but the Series X didn't, that didn't leak. But every single piece of like gaming news, that almost certainly leaks. But these game acquisitions or studio acquisitions, not a single one's leaked. Nobody knew that Sony was going to buy Bungie. Nobody knew that Microsoft was going to buy Double Fine or Obsidian or In Exile. None of that stuff leaks. Bethesda, Activision, we were all shocked by that. And that's continued throughout the past few years. Like ever since the studio acquisitions start being a thing since 2018 by Microsoft. Like I should say, in the modern age, like not a single one has leaked ever. So like the fact that people were going around, saying, "Oh, this rando told me on Twitter that Sony's been shopping around to get Square Enix." It's like they would not risk like that news dropping in legal liability just for a little bit of internet clout. That makes no sense. Um, you know, Even if Sony does buy Square Enix, you know, which I doubt, I don't think that'll happen. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, would it really affect Xbox that much? Like, it would affect, like, the Western games, but we don't get Final Fantasy on Xbox anymore unless it's, the spin offs or an older game. But, like, like, people are still wanting Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox. That doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. Final Fantasy 16, that's going to be 2 years exclusive to PlayStation. That Forsaken game or whatever it's called, that's 2 years exclusive to PlayStation as well. And it's like even after that time's up, it doesn't guarantee that it's going onto the Xbox platforms. So, but yeah, it's weird that these rumors just get flown around every few weeks. Like, and the thing is, there is a double standard. We see it all the time. I've seen certain people on Twitter say like, I hope Sony doesn't buy studios, or Microsoft buying studios, like this is a bad thing for the industry, and then they put out lists of who Sony should buy. It's like it's a bit ridiculous. Like, I don't see any of the big publishers getting bought anytime soon. The Activision deal in itself has been a big deal, obviously, and you mentioned the whole politics thing, and people bringing up politicians. Like, I was surprised to see fanboys tag American senators. I think they were senators, American politicians, to try and stop the Activision deal. Like, I've seen a lot of wild things on Twitter. Like, I've been on Twitter for almost 10 years, but only this past year, things have been wild. I see a surgeon posting someone's, public information during his own surgery, for fanboy clout. And then I see people tagging an American politician to say, please don't let the Activision Blizzard thing go through. And it's like, and this is what I don't get about that, by the way, and how kind of sad it is. Like, when this whole deal goes through, PlayStation, they still getting Call of Duty, right? That's pretty much a given. Overwatch isn't as popular as it used to be. Diablo's huge, but I think it's extremely weird how people are just freaking out about the Activision deal, because you're still going to get your Call of Duties. Hell, Call of Duty Black Ops, I think it was 3, was recently rated for the Switch. Like, and Microsoft have said that they want to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms, as they should. I think Call of Duty would be massive there, but it's just strange, man. Like, tagging US politicians, that's wild. Like, the fanboys in 2022 have just gone to a whole nother level. Twitter's wild, honestly. But yeah, seriously, like the Square Enix thing, if that does happen, it certainly wouldn't leak beforehand. That's too big. Like, NDAs exist for a reason. So, yeah, people need to stop running around with those fake rumors because, again, what are people getting out of this? They're getting more views. They can put Square Enix, bought by Sony in the title. But at the end of the day, we still remember that crap, and none of it's happened yet. And it's just like, just because Microsoft buys something, such as a big publisher, doesn't mean Sony's going to. Maybe Sony doesn't want to buy a big publisher. It's a weird situation. Anyway, we'll move on. So it recently came out, and you told me about this, Logan, that Double 11 Studios is moving on to make Fallout 76 content. Now, Fallout 76 has came a long way since it first launched, and it launched in a pretty bad state. This was years ago before Microsoft bought them. But the game over time got more and more content. It got NPCs. It got actual quest lines now. It's not just a survival game. It's a full-on Fallout game. And, to this day, apparently it's really good. I need to give it another shot. But, yeah, Logan, since you told me about this story, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting match for Double 11 to just randomly announce on a, given Monday or whatever that they're working on the next batch of Fallout content. And apparently they had been in discussions with Bethesda for a couple years on it. And it's a really good sign for the brand and for the IP in itself because Bethesda and Xbox want Fallout to remain in the public knowledge and in the forefront, even while they're working on Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. Whenever the next Fallout will come out, hopefully, not in a decade, but sooner than that they want Fallout to still be relevant. And they've recently said that they have 5 years of content lined up for Fallout 76. So assume this would be part of it. They're a talented support studio. They used to be a PlayStation studio years and years ago, and then they got their independence. They did Minecraft Dungeons, which is quite a bit of fun. So I don't know. It's an interesting something to keep an eye on. The fact, we talk about acquisitions all the time, but a studio helping with one franchise for Microsoft and then jumping to another franchise for Microsoft and having a good relationship, it's just something to keep an eye on. And it's nice that there's a talented studio wanting to keep Fallout thriving at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a big step. And, I just checked Double 11 Studios. They made Minecraft Dungeons. That game's been getting free content ever since, pretty much. And I think there's a few paid expansions. I'm not entirely sure on that, but it's a big game. People like the whole Diablo style stuff, and to have them an outsourced studio working on more content is kind of big because like you said, they need Fallout to stay relevant and in the limelight for years to come because we aren't going to see the next Fallout for a long time. Who knows? The next Fallout game might be by Obsidian with New Vegas 2, but it looks like the next Fallout is obviously going to be a long way away. They need to get Starfield out first, and yeah, it's a good sign, And people that are in those communities, they're passionate, they want more content, they will support the game and the economy in that game. So yeah, it's a big deal, and I know you were talking about acquisitions. This might be another studio Microsoft picks up because I've noticed they tend to, or should I say, sometimes go for studios that they've worked with heavily. And, if they did really well with Minecraft Dungeons and now with Fallout 76, it might be a test bed for a purchase. And, who knows? Anything can happen. But yeah, it's a good sign for Fallout 76 because, again, those on-live type games, they need you. And they said this game was going to last for years upon years. And, giving it quests and more content over time, it's important and it's a good sign. We're going to talk about Unreal Engine 5 before I get into the major stuff. So, Unreal had their event today where they were talking about the technology, and it was really cool. I take it you didn't watch this since it was pretty early on, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't watch it. I just read the blog post on it.
Okay, so, for people that didn't watch, it's basically just showing developers the different types of tools and methods they can do and make games with, which is really cool. It was a very developer-centric show where it was aimed at developers. Like, this wasn't a game reveal event. They weren't going to announce anything there. I have seen reactions by people who thought this was a legitimate game reveal event, and it was hilarious. But honestly, it's cool tech. A lot of the games we play over the next generation, that's going to be using Unreal Engine 5, and the tech is insane. The Matrix demo. So if anyone's picked up an Xbox Series XS or PlayStation 5, download the Matrix Awakens. That game demo, I should say tech demo, is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and it's impressive what they can do. Like, that is photorealistic. Like, you could put it alongside the Matrix 2 and 3, and it's the same. Like, it looks real, and we're getting to that point now with the technology. Hell, the technologies came so far that you can record and do photogrammetry with a mobile device and upload that into the game engine. Like, that's mind-blowing how far this technology's come. So it's important to see like how this tech's going to be used over the next few years. And over the past few months, we've had other developers come out and talk about the tech, and obviously excited about it. BioWare came out and said, look, they're moving to Unreal Engine. There's been lots of new job openings for Mass Effect moving to Unreal Engine 5, which that has me giddy because I get to play a non-janky Mass Effect game, which is awesome. And by the way, out of all the news topics I could have talked about, I have to bring up Mass Effect, just because I have to, and the fact that it's going to be Unreal Engine. About time. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, Unreal Engine, although I think that will be Unreal Engine 4 by the time that comes out, but still, great engine. And the Witcher Saga got announced a few weeks ago. That is a big deal. CD Projekt Red have had their own in-house engine for like 15 years, and honestly, I think it's really good tech, but them moving to Unreal Engine is a big deal. Because they can get more workers that are familiar with Unreal Engine. They don't have to rely on learning new tech, or I should say the proprietary tech that CD Projekt Red used. But like, it's a good sign because like I've seen some developers talk about consolidation in like software space for development. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, people talk about Unreal Engine because it's easy to develop for, and games look good, perform good, and CD Projekt Red can help with the development of Unreal Engine in the future because again, they make excellent open world games, and it helps everyone out in the long run. But anyway, where I'm going with this, so Tomb Raider got announced last year. Most people didn't even realize it got announced because it was in a blog post where they were talking about the future of the franchise, and nobody really thought anything of it because there was no pictures, not a name, nothing. We didn't even know if Camilla Luddington is tied to the franchise again. But yeah, they came out today and said, Crystal Dynamics is working on a next-gen Tomb Raider game using Unreal Engine 5, which surprised me a lot because, again, their proprietary tech for Tomb Raider, the trilogy, looks amazing. Like, you've played the trilogy, right?
Yeah, it's criminally underrated. I love that trilogy dearly.
Yeah, like, those three games are phenomenal. Like, granted, the third one, there's next to no combat in that game, but when there is, it's good, and those games are stunning. Like, Rise of the Tomb Raider, in my opinion, is one of the best looking games ever made. Like, I love the environments, the character detail in that game, just incredible stuff. But they move into Unreal Engine, so like, I guess it's a good sign we're going to see, more of this stuff. But the news continues because, the Coalition, they worked on the Matrix Awakens, and, a lot of Unreal Engine tech is going to be used in-house with Xbox Game Studios. And they came out with a list today, Double Fine, their next game using Unreal Engine 5. Ninja Theory, the Coalition, they working on using Unreal Engine 5, It's a good time because, like, Microsoft, they have their in-house engines for certain stuff, like, Forza and Halo. But, like, to say, like, their studios moved to Unreal Engine for a lot of the projects, you remember when the Xbox Series was announced and the PlayStation 5, like, we all saw the posts online, people talking about, who's going to use all this next-gen tech or Unreal tech for game development, and it turns out Xbox Game Studios are going to be using this impressive tech the most. And what can I say? It's impressive stuff. Like, again, download The Matrix Awakens. It looks incredible. But they also put out another technical demo to watch, and I think it's called The Cave or something. Yeah, it's called The Coalition, The Cavern tech demo. It's about a minute and a half long. But it's just impressive. The technology is just gorgeous. And, some of these games aren't that far away, Stalker 2 comes out this year, although, granted, with everything going on in the world right now. I wouldn't blame them if that game was delayed, but that's going to be the first major, open world Unreal Engine 5 game. I'm not including Fortnite. I'm never including Fortnite in anything, but ever. Seriously, by the way, a little mini rant about Fortnite. I do not see the appeal of that game at all. Like, people running around building stuff. Yes, there's a no build mode now, but Fortnite is just not fun. I've tried it. I don't get it. But anyway, that's a rant for another day. But anyway, Stalker 2, if it releases on time, it's going to be the first major Unreal Engine 5 game on Xbox Series consoles and PC, which is awesome. And, I think, this goes to show, like, back in the day, back in, like, the PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube days, and before then as well, like, all these developers were making their own engines for almost every single game. Like, if you ever watch documentaries on older games, like, a lot of the development time was just them making the engine, and now it's to a point where, yeah, they can, pay to use other people's engines, but it's good stuff, But yeah, if people are interested in technology and game development, I highly recommend watching that whole, Unreal event they did today. Someone in chat just said, I don't like Fortnite, but I'm okay with the no build mode. You know what? I will actually give that a go, because that whole building thing to me looks so unappealing. Like, I've tried, I don't like it. And when I'm seeing clips on Twitter and YouTube of people spinning around building a tower around them, like, that is not fun. Anyway, we'll move on. So, this is going to be the big rant of the day. Actually, no, we have a few topics about that. So, backwards compatibility. If you've been following me on Twitter or YouTube, you know that I play games, I don't care what year it's from, going back to when I was a kid. I replay games. I don't play a game once and put it on the shelf and never play it again. I replay stuff. My 11th playthrough of Mass Effect 1 was with Legendary Edition. So, like, I do replay games. I've replayed Mass Effect 2 8 times, right? Mass Effect 3 a few times for different reasons, but I love that game. But anyway, I replay games, When the Game Boy Advance came out, I still played Pokemon Gold because I loved that game. And it was an old title then. When the PlayStation 2 came out, I still played Final Fantasy 7. Why not? When the Xbox 360 came out, the first game I played was Halo 2. Because I loved Halo 2. The point is that I love games. I don't care what year it's from, right? Logan, you love backwards compatibility as well, like, so you know where I'm going with this. So, like, over the years, backwards compatibility became a thing with Microsoft, In 2015, they announced the backwards compatible lineup, and it was about 100 titles limited to the people in the Insider program, and it was great. One of the first games was Mass Effect. I lost my mind. If anyone could ever find the tweets of me posting a video reacting to it, I would love that. But I lost my mind when they announced Mass Effect as backwards compatible in 2015. And then that was the first game I replayed on the system. And then over time, they added more games and they added more functionality. They added, resolution enhancement to 360 games and OG games, which blew my mind and blew a lot of people's mind, with the One X, because we had this shiny new console that was capable of 4K, and we had games looking amazing that came out a decade ago. And then they added auto HDR with the Xbox Series X and S, and then over time we got frames per second boost, and now we have them in Xbox 360 games. So, where am I going with this? If you've been following me on Twitter for a while, you know that I just post clips of games I'm playing. I don't care if it came out yesterday or 10 years ago. I will replay it. And the thing is, I replay games all the time. But I feel like posting clips on Twitter that I think may be entertaining or something cool happens. Maybe a cool cutscene, So anyway, I've noticed over the past maybe 2 weeks, specifically, it happens in general, but it's been the past 2 weeks have been the worst. Every time I post a clip, I get a lol old games, comment, or look at this Xbot playing old games. There's no new games, so you're playing this crap, and it's like, I hit my breaking point. I say there's no swearing on this channel. It's safe for people to listen to, but I'm gonna say it's a big old pile of shite, right? I play what I want, when I want, how I want. And I have these, how should I put them, pissants replying to my posts of me enjoying games in 2022 of just people just dogging on old games. Who gives a crap, right? These people, if you look at their profiles, they all they talk about is God of War, Spider-Man, by definition, old games. And all they talk about is remakes and remasters. They buy remasters of games that came out 2 years ago, and I get this old games comment. I don't have to pay for games I've already paid for, right? I don't have to stream them. I can play them on my console. You have these pissants constantly replying to my posts, me minding my own bloody business every single day, of these people losing their mind just because I'm playing a game. Who gives a crap, right? What is the problem with me playing what the hell I want? Are they jealous? Because that's what I think. They are jealous that I just have access to more games. Because why would me playing something make them angry? That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. And it's every day. And it gets worse and worse. And I just don't get it. Like, I was playing Fallout 3 last week to get some footage, and I actually enjoyed it. So I was playing for a few hours, and it's like, I thought I'd post a clip because it's 4K 60 frames now. And these pissants just found the need to reply saying, oh, he's playing an old game because there's nothing new. Yet these same fuckers, right, will follow me on Twitter and look at what I post, yet they ignore all the new crap I'm posting about, right? I post Elden Ring or Dying Light footage every day, almost at the exact same time every day. And I just think it's cool to post bits of gameplay. And every single day, these people just ignore those posts. Yet the backwards compatible stuff, they lose their mind. And it's like, before I go on, Logan, what's your thought on this whole thing? Because you've noticed it as well.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin on it. It's ridiculous. It's I don't understand why someone enjoying something could possibly upset or make mad or air quotes trigger someone else. Like, I get it if what someone's doing is a targeted thing against someone else or bother someone else or something like that, but if it's just someone doing something for their own enjoyment that doesn't harm anyone else, I have no idea why folks hate follow. Like, hate following drives me crazy. I do not understand. Like, hate watching and hate following something. Like, we can talk about the Halo show in a minute. But like, some people are like, oh, I hate this or this or this. It's so awful. Yet you're tuning in every week just to moan about it. I'm like, what does that say about you? Like, why are you hate following or hate stalking or hate watching, whatever? It's just weird. And I don't know. I'm a huge BC guy, and like you, I play whatever the fly and flip I want to. If I'm in the mood to play a game from 2003 on my Series X, then I will. If I want to play, the latest Metroid game on my Switch, I'll do that. I want to play Returnal, I'll hop on my PS5. It's whatever flight or fancy I'm in. Like, or maybe I'm watching a show and I'm like, you know what? That references this game series. I think I'll go back and play through them all. At the end of the day, it's just play what you want and enjoy what you want, and it's not harming anybody else. And the fact that the whole old LOL old games, I agree. I think it's from a place of they're just sad that their company doesn't treat them the same way as other ones. The fact that they make you shell out 60 or 70 plus for remasters or remakes or have to subscribe for cloud saves or other bare minimum functionality features like smart delivery that we've come to expect and appreciate. The fact that they get deprived of that and so that they think they can use it as ammunition in their anger at somebody else who gets to enjoy those things is just sad. Gaming is for fun and for everybody to like it. And if you want to play, Call of Duty Black Ops, like 360 game, go ahead. Or if you want to play, the latest Elden Ring, do that. Just at the end of the day, just enjoy what you like and let other people enjoy what they like.
It's strange, man. I have a couple of these saved because I have to read them off. So, for a little bit of context, yesterday I posted a 45-second clip of Metal Gear Solid 3 from the HD collection on Xbox 360, and I posted, you know what's awesome? Playing Metal Gear Solid HD collection via backwards compatibility. It's locked at 60 frames per second now because it used to tear all the time, but it's locked 60 with no tearing. And that's awesome, right? Because on Xbox One and Xbox 360, it would tear. One X and Series X is a different thing, but like it would tear all the time, especially during cutscenes, and it's not the case now. And I got this reply saying, "I like playing new games." Okay, I completely ignored the gameplay I post daily. By the way, I literally post gameplay daily. And then I got this one yesterday that really set me off. And by the way, these people didn't get to me. It's just if something annoys me, I will mention it, and these people annoyed me. So, what's the count now at Jamie Moran? Backwards compatibility attempt to trigger post number 263. It's getting old now, dude. You've made your point. Now, I know I say there's no swearing on this channel, but who the fuck are you to tell me what to post? Who the fuck are you? Honestly, who gives a shit about this little pissant? Like, why can't... And I see other people post about the games they're playing, and I see the old games comment. It's like, people enjoy backwards compatibility. Because, again, do you know when the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out? If you went into the digital storefronts at the time, there was like 20 games on each console. Like, it looked really bad because there was no backwards compatibility. But, what's wrong having access to your games? Do these people not watch old films or older films? Like, do they not watch Alien or Aliens or Star Wars? Like, do they not watch these things because they're old? You know, I recently rewatched Battlestar Galactica. That's like what 20 years old now, and it's still bloody good. And it's like it's a daily occurrence now, and you're right. Like they pretty much come off jealous, because their favorite platform holder doesn't have, said feature. And if it did, all we'd see on Twitter. And remember all these people were hyping up something called a backwards compatible engine. How all these people were posting a picture of, Mark Cerny with this image that said PS4 and PS5 compatibility with the empty space underneath. Remember all those people, all those clowns, And I try and keep this professional, but I'm going off it today. Just this one time, promise. Like, these people are just jealous. It comes off as jealousy, and it's sad, really. Backwards compatibility gives people the ability to play crap they own and discover new stuff. Like, I never played Binary Domain before. And then when they announced it, fortunately I bought the disc because I was wanting it to happen. And maybe someone at Microsoft listened, I played it and I loved it. And even though that game came out in 2012, that was one of my favorite games I played last year. And it's basically Gears of War meets Terminator. And it's incredible. And it's 60 frames per second boost. But I don't know, like, I just don't like the idea of people just crapping on old games just because. Like, why? Nintendo have old games in their stores, and we will talk about the whole PlayStation Plus versus Game Pass thing in a bit. But it's like people need to stop going off on the whole old games thing. It's happening every single day now, every day, And these same people will hype up remasters and remakes, things that you get charged for. Like, come on, eek. Sorry for going off on it. I really had to mention something because, like, if people have been following me on Twitter, you see these things. And the reason I post these people on Twitter, by the way, is so people can see them and block them. Because I see them apply to other people and they just post negative stuff all the time. And it's like, you're being an idiot on purpose. It's annoying. Stop it, Anyway, we'll move on because we've got another rant coming up in a bit. So... Now, Logan, you were talking about the whole State of Decay developers, Undead Labs. Do you want to mention that before we move on to the last stuff?
Yeah, I feel like since it happened in between our last show and this one, it was a topic of conversation for a week. I just thought it'd be worth revisiting that. Yes, it wasn't the best look, and yes, there were some negative things and some things that Xbox needs to address and go forward. It is interesting if you dive into it that most of the stuff was past tense, not present. and they even go into it saying that currently the devs feel that they've turned a page and are on good footing now. New leadership, they seem to be going in the right direction. It and so and even the former head of the studio released an article of his own talking about each of the allegations and things. If you want, you can find him on Twitter and find his reply basically. And just bottom line, how they felt that in essence that they wish Xbox had a more hands-on approach at the beginning, and they did. And how that's kind of interesting because a lot of people used to complain about Xbox being, like Darth Vader, Iron Fist. Just, like you do this or else. Like this is how it's going to be. Then under Phil and other things, when they started acquiring studios, it became, all right, we're just going to sit back and if you need something, give us a holler and we'll help you out with it. And just here's a bunch of money and resources. Go have fun. Go make something. And so how it's basically now, and what there was the initiative like a week or two before that article about it, just that at the end of the day, it seems like they need to find a balance between Darth Vader and just have fun, do whatever you want. They like some studios maybe need a more hands-on approach, and maybe some you can just have hands off. They just need to find the right balance, and maybe it's gotten to a point where they have so many studios where maybe Matt Booty needs some help, and maybe they need to divvy them up into quadrants or something like that. Their empire, so to speak, to where one or two guys aren't in charge of having to overlook all these studios so directly. Because I mean, that's a lot of talent and a lot of personalities and a lot of things you have to manage. And this isn't a Microsoft problem, it isn't a PlayStation problem, it's a gaming industry problem. There's always been some cultural things that go on at these places. Not all studios, but there's a bunch of studios throughout history who've had issues of various levels of egregious. And at the end of the day, it's an industry problem, not a certain platform holder's problem, and it just feels gross when people try to weaponize it and use it as an console warfare. It's like, really, you're using these people's suffering and these people's negative experience to try to spin for console clout on social media? That's just weird. Just just hope that at the bottom line that they can get a better situation for these devs, and that maybe they should look into how they structure and manage things going forward to have more of a approach that isn't just all or nothing.
Yeah, man. I like the stuff that happens with these things. It's very serious. Um, and this is we try not to be too serious in this, but it needed to be mentioned. And Microsoft, they do have a hands-off approach when it comes to game development, but like sometimes I think they're gonna have to rein that in to protect the developers, because at the end of the day, we saw what happened with all the Activision stuff in the past year. Like some horrible stuff's been happening. And stuff's been happening like that at Sony, and like some awful stuff happened at the Undead Labs. It's like these people need to be put on check, and this stuff can't be allowed. It's people's like livelihood, and it's people's like lives at stake. It's serious stuff, and it's like this stuff should be watched. That stuff should never be allowed in the workplace or just in general. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, even though it does seem it was a few years ago, it's done now. Microsoft should just keep more of an eye on their developers, because again, a safer workspace is a better workplace. And even though Microsoft is like number one on Glassdoor right now for best workplace in America, like that stuff can always be better, no matter where it is. But yeah, and people weaponizing that, like you're saying, like don't weaponize that stuff. That's people's lives. Like that's kind of gross. Like again, people may want to make memes about whatever they want on Twitter, but at the end of the day, this stuff you don't touch. Like just don't touch that stuff. Like keep away from it. Like wish the developers, good luck, health, and all that stuff. Just let them be. And Microsoft, Sony, all these publishers need to hold these people accountable in future. Really, it's like serious crap. Anyway, we'll move on. So, in the time we've been off since the last show, Sony came out with their, new service, PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus, I think it's Premium, and then the last one, Extra or whatever. Um, and basically, the reason I'm talking about this is because it is a competitor to Game Pass. Whether people want to like it or not, or like say it's a competitor, it is. Disney Plus did not come out the day they started and say, "Hey, look, Netflix isn't our competitor." No, no, they are. They are. They're competitors with each other. And here's the thing: we get better content because of it. So I'm talking about this because, there's certain features locked behind PlayStation which I think should just be, free to everyone. So basically, for people that don't know, PlayStation Plus is basically going to be the same. So the first tier, you get your, I think it's 2 free games a month. You get your cloud saves, and discounts. And then the second one is you have access to PlayStation 1. I think it's PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games via the PS Now service, because PS Now is going to be roped in with PlayStation Plus. By the way, I hate their naming conventions for stuff. Like simplify it a bit. But anyway, so that's tier 2, so PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games. And then tier 3, you're going to have access to streamable PlayStation 3 games with everything I've just said included. And you know, they've said that they aren't gonna commit to day one releases like Xbox has, because all their big games, be it future Activision games, Bethesda games, or their just first party in general, everything launches in Game Pass day one. And a lot of people were somewhat disappointed. People, and the thing is, you've probably seen this as well, Logan. Like, there's been these PlayStation centric guys that will say, "Why are only Xbox guys wanting day one games?" And the thing is, everyone should want this. Like, what is wrong with paying less for more content? Like, the problem is, and I've heard on other big podcasts, and people with some influence, they will basically say that Game Pass is unsustainable, and they will use that as a reason to not have games in the service day one. Like, what's your thought on that whole concept?
Well, my first thought on it is if it wasn't sustainable, they wouldn't be doing it for years on end. I mean, basically, it was not a last ditch effort, but Xbox was not in a good place when they started Game Pass years ago. And Phil talked to Satya Nadella, and he's like, "Look, let's try this. We're gonna try to revitalize the Xbox brand, and we're gonna hitch our wagon to Game Pass, and it's gonna revolutionize gaming industry and how we do things going forward." Satya gave him that chance, and the rest is history. It's been a huge success and is doing great, and has completely changed how people, well, for the most part, think about gaming industry and how things function and how you can have success with some more niche franchises and titles, and how bigger blockbusters can have longer legs on life, and just all these things. It's been a jackpot success. So of course it makes sense for other companies to start looking at making their own version. And it's just always funny how Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation, he's a very knows what tune to sing whenever he's in a press conference to his hardcore PlayStation um, crowd versus when he's in a different meeting, different opportunity people he's talking to. Because, there was an upcry about PlayStation games ever coming to PC. And then lo and behold, he started kind of just easing their fears and going like, we need to get to more numbers and we need to do this and this. And so then their games started coming to PC. And so now the outrage has finally died down a little bit from that, which is really funny to begin with, that it was outrageous that they would dare let their games be on PC as well. And then the fact that now it's like, oh, no one cares about old games. And then, oh, y'all do care about old games, so we'll put it as BC, but it'll be limited to one generation. And then, okay, people are mad about that. And then Xbox has all these BC stuff and cloud and all this and this. So now we'll introduce more BC, but we'll make it only cloud version and hidden behind the highest paywall you can get for our service, instead of being free or being able to put in a disc of a game you've already owned or even you already own digitally, it's not consumer friendly, just bottom line. And all those people who were saying smart delivery was a cute little buzzword, little marketing phrase, they have pie on their face big time because of all that. Because you've seen how even the latest thing with the Avengers, there's a game crippling bug which is making people have to restart the game if they save a certain way on the PlayStation and stuff instead of just like smart delivery is seamless. It's just they they dance to a different tune and different people just seem to go with it because that's just how they do. And I just find it amusing. And at the end of the day, I think this is less about being their Game Pass and more about just getting more money out of their already people who are subscribed to PlayStation Plus. I think this might expand into their Game Pass eventually, but I think this is mainly just kind of getting some more money out of who they already have.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense, man. And the thing is, you mentioned the whole smart delivery thing. Everyone, a lot of people at the time were like, "Oh, this is a gimmick. It's just a buzzword." And it's like, it's literally been seamless. Like you put in your disc or just download the game, and like the game knows which version you should need. And we literally don't have to think about it. Yeah, on PlayStation, like you may get the wrong version, saves may not work. Transferring saves is an issue. The fact that they lock cloud saves behind like a paywall, and apparently they do that on Nintendo as well. Like I didn't know that until like a few days ago. Like cloud save should be free. Like it didn't. Like I think someone worked out that these companies could do cloud saves for $100,000 per year. Um, if I can find the link for where I found that number, I'll post it in the description. But like $100,000 per year sounds like a lot, but to these companies, they're making billions per year. So I think some cloud saves like should be going to everyone. It's just weird, and the whole backwards compatibility thing, like Jim Ryan, he knows what to say, when to say it, type of thing. And him saying things can change, meaning that they may do day one games in the future. And the backwards compatibility thing, he was in Jim Ryan was in an event, a GT event a few years ago, and he played GT. I think it was GT2, and he's like, "Why would people play this?" And it's like, people want to play old games; they don't care. But like the tunes change now because they're gonna tie backwards compatibility. It's not even backwards compatibility if you think about it; they're just ports. But it's like they tie in that to the service, and it's like that's not what people want. And the number one thing I always say online is like Sony has no incentive to do this because they won't get much money in return. It's like, why didn't people say that about Microsoft? Like backwards compatibility, like you like imagine like and here's the thing, right? Someone replied the other day when I was talking about this saying, "Why are you talking about this? You don't have a PlayStation." I'd be more likely to buy a PlayStation if it was backwards compatible with PS3. I want PS3 backwards compatibility because I have a copy of Metal Gear Solid 4 there, and I loved that game. A lot of people don't, but I loved it. It's incredible. And that game has gone to time now. You can play it on PC using methods, but it's like there's no legitimate way to play that now. Unless you have a PS3. In PS3s, by the way, and like any old console, they are super loud now. My PS3 sounds like the helicarrier from Avengers taking off. Like it's loud. And I want to play that again someday. And here's the thing: people say cell architecture is too complicated. Well, they're getting, modders on PC can do it. Like, I've seen clips on YouTube of Metal Gear Solid running at 4K, 60 frames per second, the PS3 game, and it's like, it works. It works perfectly fine. And it's like, Sony can definitely afford to do backwards compatibility. They can. I just don't think they want to put the effort in. And it's a shame because people talk about PlayStation having this, grandiose, legendary, past lineup of games. And it's like, well, what's the point of talking about those games if they're not going to be playable on said systems? Like, you should be able to play your digital PSP and PS Vita games on those, new platforms. You should be able to play your PlayStation 1 discs and 2 discs, the ones that's licensed or whatever. But I don't know, it's just strange, And again, the whole cloud saves thing just boggles my mind. Like, why would you lock that to a paywall? Like, again, it's seamless for. And here's the thing: people will say, "Why am I talking about PlayStation?" These are competing services, and I honestly think, and people can hold me to this, and they can clip this if they want. But PlayStation combining PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now together means they have X amount of million subscribers the day the service goes live. Meaning, let's say they have 40 million PlayStation Plus members that get the two games every month. Well, the second they combine the service, they can say, oh, this service has 40 million subscribers. That's why they're doing it. They're converting their current subscribers to the new thing so they can actively tell third party developers and developers in general that, hey, we have 40 million subscribers. Would you like to be a part of our service? And it's actually quite smart that they've done that because, again, from the onset, they don't have to try. I look at this PlayStation Plus thing and it's like, if you are already subscribed to the base tier and you like your 2 free games a month, it's actually worth it. You're getting a good amount of content per year. Nothing else is changing other than the name. But like from what I've seen from the rest of this service, I would call MVP. Now, some people might be wondering what does that mean. You might know what it means, but it actually means minimal viable product. It's kind of they've just half-assed it. Like Game Pass has changed how people think about purchasing games. During the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation, game prices a lot of places around the world went up. And, with this new generation, they went up again, £70 for a game. And now people look at these games thinking, does it look like it's worth 70? And then they may not buy it. But these people that are subscribed, like myself, are saving hundreds of pounds or hundreds of dollars per year being subscribed. And that money we save can go towards other games. So, like Lego Star Wars, I wasn't really thinking about picking that up day one. I've been looking forward to it, but I'm happy I did. And I've saved money even though I bought it. And you can also get a 6,000 Microsoft Reward Point punch card on Xbox. But it's like, these services are competing for our money. Whether you have one console or the other or both. Like, we want the best from these services. Because think about it, this is going to benefit developers in the long run. Let's say 2 years from now, Xbox Game Pass is we'll just say 40 million just for the hell of it, and PlayStation Plus Premium or whatever it's called is 40 million. These services, or should I say service providers, are going to be basically bidding for content from these developers. So let's say Shredders 2 comes out and the developer wants money. Well, PlayStation and Xbox would basically have to give offers and see who, wins. And, to us, we win because we get games, and to developers, they probably get more money out of this situation. It's just I don't think PlayStation's offering enough, and it's weird. It's weird that they're not offering a lot. Like, what's your thought on the whole like no day one games thing? Because I know we've mentioned it in the past, but it just seems like it would leave gamers to want to be subscribed year round.
Yeah, I think 100% if they did day one with their major titles, their subscription numbers and new additions would just be astronomical if they did that. Actually committed to doing that. So many people would sign up for getting God of War, Spider-Man, all their major titles day one. That would be incredible value. But, like we've mentioned Jim before and how very smart and clever he is, just that, talking about, oh, we don't know if we could sustain the quality of our titles if we put it on there. Or, like making it try to sound like there's some like boutique studio instead of just some generic that puts out, filler. And trying to make it sound like, in essence, the whole Game Pass filler were made a long time ago and were valid at the beginning but are no longer so. Basically trying to make it sound like, you know, our games would be watered down if we did this, and we can't stand to do that, damage our reputation or our image in that way. That's just the song and dance thing, and I think they'll eventually be day one. But I don't know, that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like a 2-star all you can eat buffet, but all the food is garbage. I mean, that's not accurate at all. So it's just I don't know. It's just more political spin and verbiage and trying to play fanboys against each other, and they're very smart at what they do and they're very good at it.
You know, you were saying before that like some certain communities, gaming communities, are more vocal than others, and the thing is, people for years were wanting Microsoft to get more studios because if you remember, like back in 2016 or whatever, they had like 5 studios. Like they've came a long way. People were listening. People hell they removed the DVR functionality from Twitter and they fixed it. Because people were vocal, and people are vocal about Halo. If you go to any Halo tweet, people are very vocal about Halo. But my point is, like, I think, like, look, PlayStation games sell really well. They do. They sell really well. They're rated really high, and people love them. Which is awesome. But I think people wanting more from PlayStation is okay. Like, we should hold these companies accountable for what they offer, and they're offering in cloud saves, backwards compatibility, and the service is kind of poor. It's like people need to demand better. PlayStation's still going to make their first party games people love. Their over the shoulder third person action adventures. They're going to come out with more. They have more in development. They also have $70 games with $40 microtransactions like GT Sport. Like, we can't use the microtransaction thing anymore about Game Pass and services not working. It's like, no. Like, do I have microtransactions with Netflix and, Disney Plus? No. I just pay now. I get everything. But it's like, it's okay to, like, want more. Like, I want Microsoft to make YouTube streaming a thing on console. And I will always push for that. And I will push for more backwards compatible games. Even though they mentioned the licensing thing is a different story. But, like, we should want more from these companies. And Nintendo, like, I had no idea that cloud saves like cost money. That should be free, And and when we were talking about backwards compatibility, there was this person a while ago said that due to the fact that Nintendo doesn't do backwards compatibility anymore, that they've bought, I think it was Super Mario 3 7 times across various platforms, and it's like wow, like so if you bought a game on DS on the virtual store, you couldn't play it on the Wii or Wii U or now the Switch. It's like you have to buy that stuff over and over again. It's like that shouldn't be a thing. Hold these companies accountable, even if it's just a little tiny bit amount of money. Like you should want more. And yeah, it's a shame. But again, it's a learning process. This thing, remember Game Pass early on? They were like, oh, it's 100 games, and there wasn't much there for me. I didn't subscribe to Game Pass till 2019, maybe 2018, because for me there wasn't much there. But now it's like it's ridiculous how much they offer. You have the perks, which offer DLC and subscriptions to other services. My Spotify Premium is paid by Game Pass. Like, how's that a thing? But it's there and it's awesome. It's like people should just want more. And before we close out the show, you want to talk about the Halo TV show. But before I let you talk, I need to say that it's not available worldwide yet. Unless you do certain things. But it's not available in the UK yet. It's not on any streaming service yet. It is going to come to Sky in the UK, but there's no date on when, which means it could be months away. Now, with that being said, Logan, what do you think of the Halo TV show?
I'm actually enjoying it. I think it's it borrows things from the shows and the books and other stuff, but obviously in a new spin. And it's just, I think if you go into it with the expectation that this is going to be different than what I'm used to, and it's someone else's take on it, and basically the way I look at it is like, growing up you have action figures and you from all these different franchises or games or whatever. Like I got a T-Rex from Jurassic Park, and then I have Link from The Legend of Zelda, and then I got GI Joes, and then I've got all these different franchises. But then I put them all together and have these play scenarios and do this and this and that. It's like that. Like they've been given all these toys in the Halo universe and said, go have fun with it. Here's a sandbox and just rearrange it and do it how you see fit. Just don't. But then in general, just go out there and make whatever story you want to. So when I look at it that way, instead of going like, "Oh, this is blasphemous. How could they do this, 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 this?" Like, this isn't what I'm used to. This isn't in the game. I mean, I've played the games hundreds of times. I know that story by heart. I've got the books, I've got the graphic novels. Like, I, as you are about Assassin's Creed and all the books and all the lore and everything, I am very much that way about Halo. So, this is different, but it does take inspiration from it. And I think it's an interesting spin on it. And I won't go into plot or spoilers or anything, just that it is you can enjoy both. You can enjoy the show for what it is, that it's different and that it is not the Halo you're used to. While you can also love the games, which are the traditional what you're used to. You don't have to pick and choose, and especially the people that like the hate watch or the like I just want this to fail or like go after the actors and other stuff like, come on now. I mean, the Halo community we've always talked about kind of has a they're very vocal about some stuff, but at the end of the day, I think it's a worthy addition, and I'm cautiously optimistic.
Well, I've only seen the trailers. Again, no UK air date, but the trailers look cool. I've seen clips on Twitter. I know people are bothered by Master Chief removing his helmet, but if you really think about it, like Halo isn't Mandalorian. Like Master Chief is not a Mandalorian. Like he does take his helmet off. Like it's just in the games. The games are set in a short period of time. Where he wouldn't be taking off his suit. So like, you know, that kind of makes sense. But like, you have to realize these TV shows, they are made for a mass audience, right? Like they can't just make a Halo show made for just Halo fans. They have to make it for everyone. That's how these shows work. And look at the Uncharted film, right? I can't wait to watch the Uncharted film. I think it looks really cool. But that game, I should say, that film was made for everyone, not just fans of the game, and that's important because again, not all gamers are going to watch a television show, right? So them doing something different to me, it makes sense. Why would they just keep his helmet on the entire time? You don't get an actor to like play a certain role for a long time if they can't express themselves. Like, look at the actor that plays literally the Mandalorian. Like he wanted to take his helmet off more, and as you see in later seasons, that's a thing. Sorry for spoilers, but it's like a few years old. But it's like it makes sense. Personally, I think it looks cool. And again, we've had live action Halo stuff before. Halo Nightfall miniseries was okay in my opinion. We had yeah, that was Halo Nightfall. Then we had Halo Forward into Dawn, which I loved. A bit cheesy in parts, but I thought it was pretty cool. And then there was Halo Legends, which was the anime, which we need a new one, by the way. I would love a Halo Legends too. But think about it. At one point, we were actually going to get a Neil Blomkamp Halo film. And then we got District 9
that
instead.
was gonna be so good.
Yeah, like we got District 9 instead. And District 9's alright. I get motion sick watching it, but it's like Neil Blomkamp making a Halo film. How that never went through is beyond me. But, we were going to get a Bioshock film as well. That fell through. But now we're going to get an Amazon series. So, no, I think it's Netflix. Yeah, Netflix is making Bioshock. But the thing is, we're going to see a lot of video game content from these, makers. So Netflix, they have a bunch of new animes coming out for, like, I think Dragon Age, that's getting another anime. Resident Evil, that's getting a live action series. So, like, all these companies now are making live action versions of video game stuff. And all that stuff, it's not going to be like 100% to the games or the comics or whatever. So it's just something you have to accept. It's made for everyone. Personally, I can't wait to watch it. I thought some of the aliens in the trailers looked a bit weird, but hey, I'm all for it. And plus, I love sci-fi, so I'm all for it. Have you got anything else to go over before we close out the show, Logan?
No. That I think we covered a lot in our hour or so.
Yeah, we've had a lot to go over. Oh yeah, Division film in the works as well. I think that Division film, that was originally going to be by Netflix. And I think that was going to be Jake Gyllenhaal. That was announced a long time ago. I've been waiting for that. There's a lot of video game content coming out in the future. But yeah, I mean, I think these directors and producers, like, they know they have to make content that satisfies the gaming audience, but it has to satisfy everyone. That's always going to be the case with, these like multi-million-dollar shows. And here's the thing about the Halo series. This Halo series probably would not exist if it wasn't for the sake of these apps. Because let's look at Mandalorian. I think that costs like $25 million per episode. It was ridiculously high. Like, television shows on television, that is not sustainable because the money up front isn't there. TV shows, they make their money basically off, ads. If a TV show gets really high and it has a lot of views, then the companies putting ads in. Have you noticed if you watch Game of Thrones back when it's high, you'd see adverts for cars, mobile phones, and stuff. But if you watch adverts during a show for like something that isn't that popular, it's like I don't know, grandma's old apple pies or something. It's something weird.
Yeah.
Like the ads are crap, but like these shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was like $25 million per episode. It's ridiculously high, and it's movie quality episodes. It's like these streaming services allow us to have a big budget, television again, or I should say in general. And like this Halo series would not exist if it wasn't for Paramount Plus or whatever it's called. And I'm still waiting for that to come over here, but it's cool. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in the future, and yeah, that's it for today. I'm sorry for ranting a few times, and again, I swear on the channel in general that I will not swear, and that won't happen again. I just had to rant about backwards compatibility. And yeah, the video on demand stuff will be up in a bit. And when it comes to content on the channel, again, last week's video I had to postpone because a certain company likes to, bother people using their own footage. But anyway, everything's all sorted. Videos coming out this week. It's about technology related to the Xbox Series consoles, and I have some first-party Xbox-related stuff coming out next week, which I think people will like. And yeah, stay tuned. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. You'll be notified for my next video. The video should be out either tomorrow or Thursday. And yeah, stay safe, people. Hope everyone has a good day. We are out. Peace.